Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. It's 2026, and I didn't want the first day to go by without me coming on here and thanking you all for supporting the channel, for keeping me company as I keep you company as we wend our way through everything that we've been wending our way through. So I hope you had a good holiday season and that you enjoyed your New Year's and we have a weekend coming up, which is great. I know if you're a teacher, you got maybe an extra long Christmas holiday break this year because of where things fell. So that's good. Um, but I wanted to sort of come on and give us a little bit of a heads up for what January has in store. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Erica Robinson. I read Lenormand, which is a European card divination system. Traditionally 36 cards, but modern decks have more than that. I'm the author of The Language of Lenormand, which is available wherever books are sold. There's also a French version and it will walk you through how to learn to read Lenormand, which is a very friendly system. Also, the author of Erica's Lenormand of Hope, which is the cards that I use. I have broken open a new deck of these same cards for the new year, and so you'll see that today. I read tarot as well, quiet as it's kept. And so I will be incorporating tarot in today's reading. But if you're interested in the book or the deck, I also have a self-study course where I put videos up that are teaching videos. You can find all that information under each video. There's a button you can push, the more button, and that will take you to where you can access all those resources. So I thought what I would do is I have the Waite Smith Tarot. That's sort of the traditional one that you're used to, and I will pull from that. These cards are all in order 1 through 78, but I'll use those in case you're unsure of what I'm pulling in the deck that I'm actually um, referencing, which is the Black Tarot. I use the Black Tarot when I write on Substack. My Substack, which is also called In the Company of Cards, is where I create a dialogue amongst Lenormand tarot and an African oracle called the Adinkra and me, and all four of us have a conversation, and each of us has our place in the conversation, and it's a thing I really enjoy. So I will be writing the latest entry tomorrow over on Substack. So, I think that January is going to be an incredibly busy month for a lot of reasons. I think that, what's that very overused expression that we need to learn how to walk and chew gum at the same time? There are so many areas. And, rather than sit here and give a laundry list of all of the different areas and that we will have to pay attention to this month, I thought what I would do is I would let tarot have its say in terms of what we want to maybe particularly focus on each week of the month. So I'm starting on the 5th. I think that's the Monday. And we know that Congress will be back in session the 5th or the 6th. And so, we'll get everybody, let everybody have the weekend off. Um, and start the reading from the 5th through the 11th. So I thought I would pull a single tarot card to tell us about the most important energies for the week of the 5th through the 11th of January. And then I'll clarify with my Lenormand deck. Okay, so I pulled a card and it's the star. And I love that. The tarot star is all about hope, and it's all about the future. So I think it's a perfect card to start off our January with. Again, we are looking here at the first week, or, you know, the 5th through the 11th. Okay, so what can we clarify that with? I have my Smith Waite deck, but the star is the star. I don't think I need to elaborate on that. Okay, what's interesting is that the tarot card is the star. I told you that's the future. That's also hope. Clarifiers are the ship, the snake, and the star. So there are so many areas that this could pertain to. One of the things I know that people are hoping for in this first week is that Congress will do something about the health insurance debacle. We know that as of today, the ACA, people have been thrown off insurance. We know that insurance premiums will go up for everyone, ACA and not ACA. Yeah, the premiums will go up. People have hope that there will be some sort of legislation that will be retroactive to January 1st so that people will not lose their health insurance. Now, of course, what's going to happen is there will be a lot of people who, as of today, have their premiums go up, and they'll say, yeah, nah, I can't even take the chance of re-upping in the hope that this will be retroactive. So I'm just going to have to go insuranceless, which means then their insurance lapses, then they have to reapply. Maybe they'll get accepted, maybe they won't get accepted. But people are hoping that in a sort of they would say in Latin, in a deus ex machina way, meaning God out of a machine, that some kind of magic thing is going to happen. This is the hope star that will cause this insurance nightmare to pass from our lips, that cup to pass from our lips. So the ship is about forward movement, which is great. Um, the thing is, the card in the middle is the snake. And the snake means that this will be difficult. This will be not an easy fix. We know that all these legislators will have come back from their home districts having heard an earful about any number of things, including healthcare. But it's interesting that we have the star show up again from the Lenormand deck. It makes me think that there will be some sort of resolution, continuing resolution, probably. Now, continuing resolution would only be good for 30 days. So, yeah, they could come in there, uh, once this weekend is over, vote to pass a continuing resolution, keep or put back the ACA mandates, and uh, make it retroactive from January 1st. I think that's probably what will happen, but it doesn't mean that the problem is solved. It just means that this is a stopgap measure. But I do think that they will come up with a stopgap measure. If you recall, Mikey Johnson once again sent the Congress home early to avoid having to deal with that and Epstein and all the rest of it. But, you can only avoid and hide for so long, right? So I like the fact that the star is the last card. I'd rather it be like this than the other way around. So I think they will find a way after some serious infighting and just problems. I think they will come up with a way to save things for 30 days. Of course, the question then becomes, will will there be another looming government shutdown come the end of the month, right? I mean, that's what started this whole thing in the first place, right? was threat of a government shutdown. And but I like that. I like that we're given the star. I think a lot of people are really, really scared. I do think that healthcare is top of mind for many, many people. Not that there are not many top of mind issues for people all around the world, and particularly here. But I think that for Americans right now, the healthcare thing is the biggest thing. And the fact that the star is the card that we get for that, I think that's a good sign. I think they will find a way to save the day, even though saving the day will be a stopgap measure. Okay. So now we want to look for, oops, I put this in the wrong deck. I put it in the Rider-Waite deck. Okay, I want to put it back in the Black Tarot. And now I'm going to look at the week of the 12th through the 18th. So if the 5th through the 11th is all about healthcare and Congress, what will the second week be about? So we have the Daughter of Baskets. So the of Baskets is the baskets are the equivalent of cups in the Rider-Waite deck, right? So we want to find my cups, and um, these are mostly in order, but not totally in order. Okay, so we have the Page of Cups, which is the equivalent of the Daughter of Baskets. Okay. So if you notice in this Page of Cups, you've got this page standing there, his hands on his hip, and he's holding a cup. And look, oh, there's a surprise in the cup. So I think that there will be a surprise in that basket. So let's see what the surprise might be in that second month. So I will put that down. What will be the surprise in the second month? Okay. So the clarifiers are the scythe, the woman, and crossroads. I think in the second week, not the second month, in the second week, uh, we will move from that top of mind issue, which was healthcare, to one of the other top of mind issues, which I suspect is the Epstein matter. We know there have been all kinds of drops. There are millions more documents, apparently, that have recently dropped. Uh, the DOJ, which is already in violation of the law, says that they need time to go through them. Okay. But the scythe is the card for a decision. So we have the scythe, we have the woman, we have crossroads, and I think that this references Pam Bondi. She, remember, is head of the DOJ. She is the one who has said, first she said she had the Epstein files on her desk. That's some desk that it can hold all those millions and millions of files, but okay. She had them on her desk, then all of a sudden the file didn't exist. Now all of a sudden it's millions and millions of documents more than originally thought, and they don't have time, haven't had time to go through them. I think Pam is going to get the axe. The axe. I mean, I know this is a scythe, but I think that I think the felon himself may move away from her, and I think that she will get the axe. I think there will be talk of impeachment of her. She will be required to come testify again, and of course she'll get up there and lie and be snarky and all that. But I think she has run out of goodwill rope with certain Republicans. who have just been home again for the break and have heard from their constituents. I think Pam Bondi is in great danger of losing her job. Um, I think she will be held in contempt, but again, when somebody's held in contempt, then they refer that to the DOJ for charges. Do you think she's going to charge herself? No. But this is she now then becomes a distraction. Crossroads is about choices, and so frequently when we see this card, you're going down this path, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we're not going down that road anymore. Now we're going to go down this road. And I think it will be sudden, and I think she will either be fired or be in peril in terms of her job. So yeah, I'm just going to pull one clarifier, yeah, for each of these cards. So the scythe is clarified by the tree. I just think that her tree gets cut down, so to speak. She gets undercut. Here she is, and the clarifier for her is the snake. You in trouble, girl, to quote Whoopi. And then here, choices, choices. Well, the choice is going to be to get rid of her. I can mirror this last card, the coffin, with this first clarifier, which is the scythe. So I think Pam Bondi will lose her job, either because she will be fired, or she'll be forced to quit, or she'll face some kind of penalty that is not compatible with her being the chief law enforcement officer of the nation. So watch for Pam Bondi news um, that will be surprising in, I think, the swiftness with which it happens. So that's the second week. That's the week of the 12th through the 18th. So we'll see. All right. Um, the third week. So that is the 19th through the 25th. So we see that the first week, our focus is on healthcare. The second week, our focus shifts from healthcare to Epstein and Bondi's dishonesty. We'll call a spade a spade. And now we're on the third week, which is the 19th through the 25th. So what will be the big focus the third week in January? Okay. The third week in January is the Five of Baskets. Remember that baskets in the Black Tarot refers to cups in the traditional Rider-Waite. So we are looking for the Five of Cups. I thought my cards were in order, but they're kind of not looking like they are. But um, the Five of Cups, I don't know why these are not in order, and I don't really want to go through all 78 cards while you're sitting here waiting for me. But as you could see from that picture in this card, what has happened is this guy was at the grocery store and he was buying eggs and he dropped a carton of eggs. And his attention is focused on the eggs that he dropped, even though in the carton there are still eggs remaining. So that's interesting. Um, and in the traditional Rider-Waite, it's the same concept, right? We have, yeah. Um, Here it is. The Five of Cups. You see the similarity, right? Here the guy dropped eggs. Here we're talking about spilled cups. And we have this cloaked figure focusing on the three cups that he spilled, not realizing or paying attention to or being um, comforted by the fact that there are still two cups remaining. Just as here, he broke, it looks like, a couple of eggs, but there's still plenty of eggs in the carton. So, hmm, I think in that third week, uh, it looks like we may, we will have had the whole healthcare thing, which will have its stopgap resolution in a continuing resolution motion, um, that will not solve the problem, but will postpone the problem. It will be retroactive to January 1st, but again, a lot of people will already have um, said no thank you to their health insurance because they've got to pay their rent and put food on the table. So that's the first week. The second week, we see the Epstein thing heat up and that Pam Bondi situation heats up and that she's really in the in trouble. She's in the hot seat. This third week, it looks like there is a disappointment. Whose disappointment that is, I don't know. We'll see. Um, so let's look with Lenormand and see what they have to say. Okay. So we've got the Five of Cups. Remember, that's where some of the cups are spilled, but some of the cups are still upright. The figure, though, in the card only is focused on the failure, the spillage, the break. Okay. So our clarifier for this Five of Baskets card, this Five of Cups card, disappointment, is the young woman, the young man, and then the lily. So I'm going to pull some clarifiers on these and see what we get. Okay. So it feels like in the third week, where we have this Five of Cups disappointment, young woman, and she is clarified by the bouquet. Well, that's interesting because I think this will be more Epstein related stuff. And I like the bouquet. It's as though the young woman gets her flowers, gets her reward, gets what's due her. Um, but very interesting that this is the focus of these two cards. So what's that about? Somebody's disappointed, but it doesn't look like it's that young woman. Further, we have the young man and then the anchor. I think that this is all of these men who get sunk by the Epstein evidence. And then further, this Five of Cups or Five of Baskets card speaks to an old man. That's the card for the lily. I mean, that's the lily. Lily's card for the old man being on the way out. And when I say on the way out, there's a lot of ways that the felon could be on the way out. We know physically he's a wreck, but more than that, I think the Epstein situation only compounds things for him, only increases his unpopularity. Um, you know, this card of I think the disappointment is his, not ours. I think that he is one step closer to being out of office, however that happens. And there are any number of ways that that could happen. Again, his health is precarious. I don't know if you saw the Peruvian shamans who have foretold that he will no longer be with us. come spring, summer. Um, but it's also true that he could be impeached again. Not that impeachment means removal, but it could this time around. I mean, how many times does a person have to get impeached uh, you know, before a Congress and a cabinet say, okay, yeah, no more? So I think the bad news that comes in is for the felon. I do. And I think it is related to um, his association with the Epstein thing. Okay. Go. All right. Then we have the fourth week, which is the 26th through the 31st. So we're just looking to see, um, using the Black Tarot, what is upcoming in that final week. Mm, okay. This card is the Nine of Swords. Here it's called the Nine of Knives. But look at the fact that there are no knives in this deck. Now, hopefully, if I go to my swords section, hopefully, okay, good. So the Nine of Swords is commonly called the Nightmare card, right, in the traditional deck. As you see, this is someone who has woken up from a nightmare. And, swords are thoughts. And so, it's their thoughts that are keeping them up, keeping them sleepless. I love the Black Tarot version of this because he's not sleeping, but instead he's upside down. And notice that he has no head. The reason he has no head is that his head is underwater. He's drowned in his uh, thoughts, his nightmarish thoughts. And instead of these swords, or even though it's called Nine of Knives, what we have are eyes, nine eyes, all-seeing eyes. So to me, this is again the felon, not us. I think this is the felon sinking, sinking, sinking in people's estimation, having his physicality sinking, just being miserable. We already know he doesn't sleep because of when he tweets, which is in the middle of the night, and does those insane sundownish kind of tweets or truths or whatever he wants to call them. But bottom line, it doesn't matter if your body is outside the water. If your head is under the water submerged, you're drowning. I think this is him in the third week. So let's pull clarifiers on that card. Nine of Swords. And I will pull, I think what I'll do is this. Okay. So I actually pulled nine cards as clarifiers because, why not? So remember, we're looking at this nightmare card, right? Somebody losing sleep, somebody just submerged in other people's opinions and disappointment and opprobrium. So we have as first clarifiers the house, the heart, and clover. So, I don't know whether he will come back in January. The weather's supposed to be terrible, freezing cold in DC. And, he likes to be where it's warm. I think it's probably better for his health. And he may have chosen to stay in Florida for the sake of his heart health. but he's feeling very emotional about people's perception of him and about all of the things that they're saying. This is the card for reputation. This is the card for emotion. And he's been getting the message, not just from constituents, voters, right, but from people closer than that, uh, Republicans who have some stature, because they're in government, the Congress, for example, are telling him, you know, this does not look good, Mr. President. You know, here he is, underwater. The clarifiers are the bear. Here he is, and the tree. I think that what we'll see is in that fourth week, a downturn in his health. Um, so those seem to be the big themes for the month. One will be healthcare and the stopgap resolution that they will arrive at. Um, what else? What else did we see? Oh, we saw the Epstein thing heat up. Um, what else did we see? I don't even remember what I said. You can go back and rewind. But those are the energies for the month. Now, I think, it's interesting that this last week focuses so much on him and less on us. But did you see that he said that his doctors have recommended that he take low dose aspirin, and that's to prevent blood clots from forming or whatever. And he said that he takes more aspirin than his doctors recommend because he doesn't want his blood to be all thick. He wants it to be nice and thin. This is how simplistic he is. He doesn't understand the danger of taking too much aspirin because the dangers are considerable. He's very careless with his health. Let's look at his health this month, just January. And I think what we'll do is we'll use the tree for his health. Okay, so that's the card for his health. Okay, so it's a new deck, so it's kind of hard to. Okay, so we have the moon, the fish. In the center, we have the tree. Here's the felon and the house again. He's very concerned about what people, very concerned, worried, emotional, right? He got a lot of emotion around what people think about him. He thinks that illness is sort of a moral failing, right? So yeah, he does think that. So he's embarrassed to be sick. He's embarrassed to be the age that he is. Um, this is the card for his health. And I think that he will be, we'll hear from him in truths or tweets or whatever, but I think he will stick close to home. Home probably being Mar-a-Lago, I suspect, in January. We go back to this moon card again. This is the card for his reputation. He knows his reputation is being undercut in terms of his health because people are talking. They're talking about the bruising on his hands. They're talking about his balance, his cankles. They're talking about his speech being, his mindset being a little bit suspect. Um, so his reputation as being the great Donald, whatever that means, is undercut, making him feel um, weak. And we have this scale card at the end. He's really trying to balance it. So what he will probably try to do is overcompensate, become more bellicose to balance out his infirmity, right? Yeah, so he'll get worse before they shut him up entirely. Now, this is the card for emotion. He is emotionally unstable. We see that because we have these clouds here. But this also refers to circulatory issues, and his circulation is problematic. Um, we have the woman and the bouquet. I think Melania is around. I'm sure she's being paid to be around, but she's around and gives him some help and comfort and support. Here's the card for his health, the tree. And again, people are talking. I do think the cabinet is talking, maybe not all together, but I think different cabinet members are having individual conversations with each other. I think they're also talking to Republican people in the Senate and the House. There's a lot of talk. Uh, we have the anchor, meaning that this talk is not going away anywhere soon. I mean, it's going to grow, in fact. And here's Vance waiting in the wings. Okay, we have the felon as our fourth card, and we've seen these with him before. We have the snake and the tower, and then there's a third one, but he is feeling himself being closed in on, kind of like a boa constrictor would do. He feels himself being, reined in by detractors, and some of the detractors would have been people who would be his closest supporters. He does feel like a man on an island, surrounded by a moat. He doesn't know whom to trust, and we have this letter, Epstein files, um, are tightening the noose around him. He will stay close to home. I think that will be Mar-a-Lago, but uh, it doesn't matter where he is, he will feel castigated and punished by the public. That's the public. And the public, you know, bad mouthing him, his former supporters, MAGA, saying harsh things about him. And I think that that MAGA contingent quickly falls apart in terms of maybe not falls apart, but the support for him falls apart fast. The more they hear, the worse it gets. The higher prices go, the worse it gets. the more this healthcare debacle continues, the worse it gets for the felon. So I think he will have a terrible January. I think he will still be with us by the time we're at the end of January. But uh, he will not be getting better. He will only be getting worse. He will be getting probably more combative, more bellicose. No. But I think that the people around him will become increasingly quiet and calculating. And what they are calculating is their proximity to him, his worth to them, and when it might be time to get the hook to take him off the stage. Uh, in terms of war, I thought I would look at war. Um, and again, we're looking at January. So I'm going to look for the scythe. That is the card for war. There is all kinds of saber rattling that the felon is doing in various parts of the world, as we know. Um, Nigeria, the one, I mean, so he's looking at Africa, he's looking at Venezuela, he's looking at Iran, he's looking at, I mean, where is he not looking to create diversions and distractions? So are we in danger of being officially pulled into a war of our making? Um, what does January look like on the war front? So let's see. Remember, we're looking for the scythe. Do we need to be worried about the US getting into a full-scale war? Which, of course, only Congress can declare, right? But that never stopped the felon before. Okay, so this will be the card for war. Okay, short answer, we will not be engaged in any kind of large scale war. He'll do these little operations, which are bad enough, don't get me wrong. People die, and those people were human beings who had families and lives. And I'm not downplaying it, but in terms of moving us closer to any kind of full scale engagement, I don't think so. So we have the letter, we have the key, scythe is in the middle. The two cards at the end tell me that the answer is no. The scales card, right? That's the card for sort of equanimity and just sort of more an even-handedness. And then the lily is the card for peace. So we don't have to worry about that, at least in January. Um, Jack Smith's testimony was released very quietly just before the New Year's holiday. Of course, that was on purpose because the theory is that people won't pay attention to it. It's about 255 pages, I think. You can read it online. Basically, the upshot is that Jack Smith said his inquiry was not partisan, that he had no, dog in this fight, but that he found that the felon had tried to subvert the 2020 election, had incited people to violence for his cause, had hidden away classified material in ballrooms and bathrooms. Well, we saw the video evidence of that, if you recall, and that he felt that he was guilty. So because we are, in the New Year's holiday and Congress was not in session, and this was sort of quietly released without any kind of fanfare. I want to know what will happen with that testimony. If you recall, Jack Smith testified before the holidays and requested that his testimony be televised so that people could see for themselves what went on. That was denied. And so we do have the transcript of it that was released, but I haven't really heard very much about this. What I want to ask is, will Jack Smith's findings, how will Jack Smith's findings move the needle in any direction? So he gave testimony. We have the written transcript of it. So I'm going to use the letter, and that will stand for Jack Smith's testimony. I think it was 8 hours in length. Um, and again, you can find it online. Okay. Will Jack Smith's testimony, now having been publicized to the extent that it has, would change things at all? So we're looking for the letter that will stand for Jack Smith's testimony. Well, Clover, fish, here's the testimony, birds, and rider. Okay. So, they just kind of tossed it out there, you know, real quick, right before New Year's. Uh, we know that Jack Smith's not happy about that he wanted it to be out in real time, televised. That didn't happen. Um, Fish is about emotion, and so what happened was that the emotion around the testimony has been tamped down a little bit just because it was not televised and because of when the transcript was put out. It was in the midst of a holiday. Here's the transcript. Yes, people will talk about it, but not the mainstream media. They won't. Um, so there will be talk on, in citizen journalism, like on Midas and Aaron Parnas and these kinds of channels, like the one you're watching right now with me. We talk about it. But, I don't know if that disseminates the information as widely and as well and as quickly as it could have been had the testimony been live and public. So here's the testimony, the transcript. We have the key and the dog, but we also have the child. So timing is everything, right? This is the testimony. Jack Smith is, a really respected, honorable, serious, sober-minded guy. And it could have made a real difference. Here he is, the lawyer, looking out for the welfare of the people. But the testimony, because of the way that it was put out, the timing of it, the format of it, this means that its impact is lessened, decreased with child card here. Uh, we have birds, and that is the talk that has happened and will continue to happen about that testimony. Um, I like the stork. I mean, maybe it'll make a difference, just in terms of it being, another uh, nail in the coffin, so to speak. But the other clarifiers are the book and the sun. So what will have to happen is because not everybody's even aware that that testimony is out. So again, citizen journalists need to bring it to light, talk about it, do podcasts on it. And as citizens, if you want something to do, go read the testimony. You can find it any number of places. Go read the testimony. Enlighten yourself as to what you don't know, because it is a damning indictment of the felon. The thing is, though, um, the news that was found in that was, that we discerned from that testimony, um, it came in the midst of, as I said, a lot of other stuff going on. You know what I mean? We're in a constant news cycle. And so this is just like one more thing in the news cycle, and it's not paid very close attention to. That's problematic because it looks like it gets buried under the weight of all kinds of other things that are vying for our attention. That's really unfortunate. So, I'm just trying to do my part by encouraging you to go and read the testimony. It's 255 pages. You can skim it. You can also find channels that are summarizing it. I've given you a very brief thumbnail summary, which is to say that Jack Smith thought that the felon was um, guilty of subverting the election of 2020 by the evidence that we all saw in the bathroom and in the ballroom and everywhere else, and the incitement of January 6th. But it looks like there are so many other things going on that his testimony does not pack the punch that it could have had it been live, televised, and in a timely manner, not during the holidays. So that's unfortunate. But again, you have access to it. Point people in the direction of it. Um, I guess, like I said, at best, it's just another nail in the coffin. I think it's very interesting that the coffin card does show up, but that testimony could have packed way more of a wallop. That deposition could have packed more of a wallop. Um, but the Republicans obviously didn't want that to happen. So, um, let's see, is there a message that Spirit has for us as we go into this new year? People will ask me that. They'll say, like, if I do free readings or, they'll say, does Spirit have a message for me? Well, Spirit always has messages for you. In every moment, in every day, in every area of your life, Spirit has messages for you. You just have to pay attention in order to find them, you know. But I'm going to ask the cards, is there a message for us as we walk into this new year? And I think I'll use the rider because the rider is the card for news message. So we'll put that in the center. What message does Spirit have for us as we launch into this really important year, 2026? What do we need to know going into 2026? And we're looking for the rider because that is the news, the message. What is the collective message Spirit has for us going into 2026? Right. So the original line of five is crossroads, child, rider, cross, and tree. So I'll say a word about them and then I pull clarifiers on all of them. In every moment, we have choices. I think, as I've said many, many times here and on my Substack writing, that we are still faced with the question, who do we want to be as a country? That thing that people say, oh, that's not who we are. Well, yeah, it is who we are. So if we're being shown who we are we good with that? Or are we not good with that? Choices face us. Choices are presented to us. And um, you know, I think that for a lot of people, even just understanding that fact in and of itself, the fact that we have choice in things is a new concept, a novel concept, an unfamiliar concept. So, for example, the fact that our health insurance, for example, is connected to our work does sound a great idea. I mean, it serves somebody, but I'm not going to say that it serves people. It serves entities, companies, corporations, school boards. It serves some people, but it doesn't serve the citizen healthcare consumer. Can we look at things in different ways, new ways, like how we do healthcare, like whether or not we establish a guaranteed, um, you know, baseline income for people? Do we still have to think in that 1950s and 60s mindset about socialism, and democratic socialism? Are we ready to think in new ways that serve people? Or, I mean, are we good with the fact that a lot about the country that was constructed to make it work exactly the way it's working now, which is for the benefit of white, wealthy males? Just saying, are we good with that or do we want to choose something new? We're being asked to look at that in 2026. The other thing we're being asked to look at, we've got the rider in the middle. So, what is the other rest of the message? It's the cross and the tree. You know that people ask me all the time. You may even have been somebody who's asked me this itself. How long will we have to suffer? How long do we have to suffer? The answer is we will have to suffer as long as we fail to choose something different. So, for example, you know, when we have the next No Kings protest, people will say things like, oh, but it's not convenient on that day. I have to do this, that, and the other. I need to buy this, that, and the other. You know, if convenience is your choice and your driver, well, then I guess the pain of, existing under the current system will be extended. But if we decide that we're ready to do things in new ways, to take different roads from the ones we've taken before, maybe ones that are more innovative, more modern, um, then maybe the duration of this pain can be shortened. But until then, not anytime soon. So here we are back at this crossroads place. Choices. Clarifiers are the mice, the key, and the sun. So, you know, is it Milton that says the mind can make a hell of heaven and a heaven of hell? We do that. we get scared, we get anxious, we say, well, we've never done it that way before. You know the saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So facing our fears is the answer. Do we like how things are right now? Okay, we can all agree no. So is our choice to just sort of suck it up and keep going the same way? Or is it to look at new directions? You know, courage is not the absence of fear, as they say. It's doing it anyway, acting anyway. And once we decide to stay awake, to wake up, to be woke, to stay that way, well, that's the key that will unlock things for us. This is the message from Spirit for this month and for this year. Second card was the child, looking at things in new ways, doing things differently, trying new stuff. Clarifiers are birds, scales, and clover. As an action step, start thinking about some of these new things that we could think about implementing. The way we do education, the way we do banking, the way that we do voting, the way that we do healthcare. You know, talk about it. Don't just sit in silence being afraid of the conversations. Engage in these conversations. How can we make people's lives more fair and also happier? Because are things fair and happy now? That's rhetorical. Okay, in the center we have the rider and we have the ring, the tower, and the anchor. Oh, and this is what I just said before. The message is if we do things over and over and over again, the same way that we've been doing them, over and over and over, we will find ourselves isolated, alone, and stuck, mired down, and left behind by the rest of the world. Is this going to be an easy, fun process? No. There is pain ahead and trouble ahead. But remember that the snake is also the slithering through mugwort. Mugwort is the plant that is used in healing and in divination, and it's a feminine plant. And I think energetically, astrologically, etc., the voices of women and the uh, perspective of women and the power of women is on the rise. And by women, I'm not talking about Erica Kirk, just saying. And I think we will find that if we go through this, there is a reward. And again, just to flesh out this feminine energy message, here we have this yin card, this feminine energy card. The final card in our original line was the tree. And the clarifiers are the young man, the whip, and again, feminine energy. So, how can we be healthy as a country? I'm just looking at the US today. How can we become healthier as a country? Well, this patriarchal, my way or highway of doing things um, has to be contested, argued about, um, seen for what it is. And here we have again feminine energy. I can mirror it with the very first card, Crossroads, which is the card for choices. Things have been done a certain way. Maybe it's time to do them another way. So, let 2026, Pluto and Aquarius and all these other placements that are happening, let this be the beginning of that change. uh, that needs to happen if we're going to survive and thrive and become that more perfect union. Because we could decide a different way. We could say, oh, yeah, no, we're good like this. And a lot of people think they are good like this. They're not. So that's the message for us for this year is if you've not paid attention because you're scared, or you've not acted because you're scared, uh, how's that worked for you? Not that well. Um, the landscape is changing, and it may very well get worse before it gets better. But there absolutely is the potential and the possibility for things to get better if we all have a hand in that. So that's enough of me for today. But you will see me soon again, probably maybe tomorrow, certainly over the weekend. And listen, Happy New Year. Thank God 2025 is gone, and let's make 2026 a better year. So thank you for all your support, and I will see you very soon. Take care.